Grab your finest suit, your darkest sunglasses, and your neuralizer. And be careful with these. Strap yourself into your Archelian battleship. We're going on a space ride through the tiny details you might have missed in the Men in Black series. I'm Joey C. Let's go! You know, I love cheeky business names in movies, like the Krusty Krab in SpongeBob. And the Universal Pawnshop in the first Men in Black movie is no different. Let me explain. Jeeb, the guy who runs the shop, is, I hate to blow his cover, an alien, man! Shocker, I know. And where does this alien work? The Universal Pawnshop, man! Good lord! This shop also sells alien and otherworldly weapons and technology. And just because you're so sweet, we have a bonus, baby! Just for you! Jeeb's lazy eye switches sides every time his head's blown off. And that just tickles me wonderfully. It's no joke that Agent J is played by Will Smith.
I make this look good.
Who's also the best of the best of the best, sir! Movie quotes aside, after his initial written test, they move on to a shooting test. And this scene is absolutely peanut butter and jam-packed. The most riveting point in this scene is when all the recruits are done shooting, they set their firearm on the table. It's interesting to note that Agent J is the only recruit that checks the status of his safety before setting it on the table. And that's just flat out responsible. I told you, he was the best of the best of the best, sir. This scene could also hint at the greater threat in the movie, Edgar. Jay did not shoot any of the alien cutouts in the scene. He did, however, shoot the little Susie cutout who was carrying a textbook, indicating a threat was hidden under the surface, kind of like the bug who takes over Edgar's body. I gotta ask, who doesn't love George Lucas? He's the man! Well, we have 2 entries on this list for George Lucas, so stick around for the second one. But for now, we'll get into the first one. Since Men in Black is a sci-fi movie about aliens and energy weapons, you'd be out of your mind if you thought there wasn't going to be a reference to Star Wars. The pesky coffee-drinking, cigarette-smoking space worms are by far the standout group in the movie. What would you say if I told you that those pesky troublemakers were related to Jabba the Hutt? I don't know if they actually are, but this is very interesting. They speak a language that's a mixture between broken English and Huttonese. The language of the Hutts, man! Fleshing out a world in a movie really breads my chicken, let me tell you. And the first Men in Black does this wonderfully. In the scene that showcases the MIB Customs, where the aliens check in, we can see a very tall, very handsome Carol Struyken. And not only is he the tallest actor ever to play Lurch in the Addams Family, but you'd know that if you saw our Wednesday video, but he's also the very same Archelian alien that is seen dining with the prince and the kitty. And since you have been so wonderful, we're gonna give you another bonus, baby! The conversation the two have at lunch before Edgar comes in and trashes the joint was originally filmed in English, but the subplot was changed after this scene was shot, so they overdubbed it with an alien language. The more you know. It's no secret that Orion's belt is the galaxy that the bugs are after. So you're probably thinking to yourself, boy, a galaxy, that's gotta be huge. Well, no, it's actually really small, and we get hinted on this early on in the movie. Agent K stops at a locksmith kiosk on the street to talk to an alien. The alien is the dog, Frank, and not the riffraff looking dude who's actually an alien in his own movie. Frank proclaims that this galaxy is the best source for subatomic energy, and that's why the bugs are after it. Now, if you're familiar with science, or a distinguished scientist like myself, you would know that subatomic literally means below atomic levels, aka smaller than the smallest unit of the element. It's a wonderful small piece of foreshadowing that points out that the galaxy is really small, and obviously J and K didn't pick up on that at all. Come on, man! This is one of those entries that made me go, oh my god, I can't believe I missed that. Maybe I'm just an idiot. So earlier, we mentioned that little details always connect to bigger themes in the movie, and it's on display beautifully here. Let me explain. The bug lands on Edgar's truck, steals his skin, and goes inside his beautiful farmhouse to his wonderful wife and demands water with a lot of sugar in it.
More.
So J and K go to the beautiful wife Beatrice to get a statement and to neuralize her. And be careful with this. She offers the boys some lemonade, and we can see Jay take a sip and spit it out, which always confused me. Until now I realize she didn't have any sugar to add to the lemonade, so it was bitter. I can't believe I missed that, man. Good lord. Speaking of things I can't believe Joey C didn't notice, we bring you another obvious Easter egg that's pretty often looked over. You see, the bug uses Edgar's skin as disguise, and as the movie goes on, the skin becomes more and more decayed, which of course makes sense. It's human skin after all. but by the end of the movie, it's damn near falling off. And I noticed that, and it's pretty obvious, but I never made the connection because I forgot that it's human skin.
Is that leather?
Maybe I'm just an idiot. Oh, good lord, I'm an idiot. You know, why don't we move to the fantastic sequel? We've dissected the first one enough. The movie came out in 2002, and I gotta say, I enjoy the sequel just as much as I love the original. What about you? The movie is filled with celebrity cameos, and I always dig that in a movie, but we'll get to that point later on, don't you worry. But for now, in the beginning of the movie, we see Agent J erase the memory of his new partner, Agent T. Side note, there's only 26 letters. What if someone has two J's in their name? Like there's a James and a Joe. Am I gonna be Agent J squared? Agent 2J? You know what, whatever, it doesn't even matter. Let's continue on in the entry. We see Jay say to his partner,
"Get married, have a bunch of kids."
And then tells the waitress he thinks she's cute. This is where it gets juicy. We can see that same actress come back, Alexandra O'Hara, and she answers the door with a ton of kids. Presumably, her and Agent T got married and had a bunch of kids. Man, that rug really ties the room together. I love these little details. The original was filled with hints and foreshadowing hidden in plain sight, and the sequel is no different. When J and K are in the pizza shop looking for clues, Will Smith says the best line ever here. Hey, editor, insert the scene where Will Smith says, "Who stacks pizza boxes like this? A pizza box stacker who's not stacking pizza. He's leaving clues. Look, it's an arrow." It's the greatest line ever. If you don't think that's funny, I don't know what to tell you. But those oddly stacked pizza boxes actually hint at the ending, so Will Smith technically isn't that far off. You see, the pizza box shows a Statue of Liberty, a piece of pizza, and a star all glowing. Now this foreshadows Laura being the light, and she was hidden on Earth. And in the end scene, we see her flying off towards the star in a spaceship that looks like a piece of pizza, and the Statue of Liberty has fireworks going about. The final scene is literally drawn on a box of pizza, man. Pizza saves the day, baby. After the whole pizza shop scene, we see Kay retrieve the key hanging on the wall of the pizza joint, leading them to a locker in Grand Central Station, where Jay and Kay find the tiny alien civilization. Director Barry Sonnenfeld also used this locker number in his previous film, except this time it was LAX. It can't be a coincidence. Hey, we said we'd talk about the celebrity cameos in this movie, and we've made you wait long enough, so let's get into it. Obviously, the biggest celebrity cameo in this movie is Michael freaking Jackson, man! The biggest pop star on earth! The other neat little cameo that isn't nearly as jaw-dropping, but I think it's pretty cool, is 80s rap star Biz Markie. And him and Will Smith, Agent J, were rap stars in the 80s and 90s. If you've ever heard Just a Friend, you've heard Biz Markie. He's the man! There are two really cool connections in the first movie that the sequel showcases in the same scene. Just after Kay is recruited and regaining his memory, he almost steps on a talking, rather polite cockroach, which of course is a callback to the bug problem that went down in the first movie. At the same time, two people on a lit-up tandem bike ride past him. The same two people ride the same bike past Jay in the first movie. It seems these guys ride by when somebody's coming to a realization. Jay and Kay visit the wonderful room of Newton, played by David Cross, who also plays the fantastic Zero in GTA San Andreas. And if you didn't know that, now you do, baby. We see them watching The Light of Zartha, who is hosted by Peter Graves, man, which could be a reference to other alien movies like Killers from Space, 1954. But that's not the main point here, man. As they are watching, Jay says,
"Looks like Spielberg's work."
It's a lighthearted jab at the executive producer of the movie, Steven Spielberg. You know, this whole scene with David Cross is kind of weird, but I love it. Why does he pick up a shovel and say, "Hey, Mom, is he gonna dig a grave? Is he gonna kill his mom?" I don't know, man. But when he gets up after grabbing the shovel, you can see a blanket behind him that showcases the Apollo 11 moon landing scene. Which, if you've seen the third movie, you know why that's important. The moon plays a huge part in the plot. It's where Boris the animal escapes from the maximum security prison on the moon. Could this be completely incorrect and a coincidence? Absolutely. But I'm writing the script here, man. I dictate what's going on here.
So feisty.
Anybody who knows me knows that I love the PlayStation 2. It's the greatest piece of technology ever. It changed the world, man. Keeping on track, the car in Men in Black 2 is controlled by none other than a PS2 controller. It reminds me how the Statue of Liberty was controlled by an NES Advantage controller in Ghostbusters. Come to think about it, the PlayStation 2 game came out a few weeks before the movie. Was that a deliberate Easter egg? I don't know, man. You tell me. Frank the Pug, who is also an alien from the original movie, is an outstanding character. The actual dog who played him returned 5 years later to reprise his role in the sequel, which is rare for pets in Hollywood. Since the doggo was at least 5 years older, they used makeup to cover up the gray hairs around his nose. We'll come back to Frank later on in this video, so sit tight, friends. You know, I'm just gonna say it. I think Men in Black 3 was overlooked. Sure, it's not as good as the first two movies, but it's not horrible. Let me dissect it a little bit for you. When a young K, played by Josh Brolin, first appears in the third, he utters the classic line,
We'll take it from here.
and you're probably wondering why that tickles me so much. Well, my friends, it's because it's the first line Old K, played by Tommy Lee Jones, says in the original.
We'll take it from here.
These connections are just fantastic. Early on in the list, we mentioned a few points that absolutely shocked us, and we do Easter eggs for a living. This one surprised us the most. When J and K open up the locker in Grand Central Station and find the tiny alien civilization, we see they have a watch as their main light source. That of course Jay takes and replaces in the sequel. The watch that he takes is the watch that young K is wearing in the third movie, and that kind of attention to detail literally makes me sweat.
What?
By the time 2012 came and the third movie came out, Frank the Pug unfortunately crossed the Rainbow Bridge. Very sad. But that does not mean he's not in the movie. Now you're probably asking yourself, how is that possible, man? Well, let me explain. His picture is seen in two places. Jay's apartment above his bed and a carnival poster at Coney Island, seen when Jay is pulled over. Frankie the Pug will rest in peace. A little nugget for the sports lovers here. In the first movie, we see Shea Stadium. Briefly, we see it again in 2012 in the third movie. Any sport nut would say, hey, wait, man, that joint got knocked down in 2008. And listen, you'd be correct. They had to literally rebuild it brick by brick. It took over 3,000 people and 3 years. I'm just kidding. They used it with CGI, man. Are you yanking me? We gotta keep the continuity up somehow. Do you remember the first movie when Agent K and Jay pull over that dude Reggie, who has a pregnant wife and gives birth and Jay gets thrown up on? Classic scene. But that dude Reggie actually comes back in the third movie. When Jay falls out of the window of the factory, he falls onto a car with Reggie. You know what? Let's get nitpicky. I'm in an evil mood tonight. The night of the Apollo 11 launch in the movie, we see a full moon. But in real life, it was a waxing crescent. How dare you? How dare you make this kind of mistake? How dare you show me this kind of disrespect? The ignorance, good Lord. Let's move on. I'm getting too worked up here. You know, I love hidden sneaky jokes. And this movie has a real cheeky one that will either make you giggle or shake your head. When Boris smashed Kay's car at the baseball stadium, the car is a 1964 Ford Galaxy. So Boris actually destroys a galaxy. Let's move on to another callback in the first film. A lot of callbacks are usually small details and references to big plot points of previous things. But this callback is so pointless, it's really not even worth mentioning, but I wrote the list, so here we are. In this movie, and in the original, while at the MIB headquarters, there is a background announcement of, will the owner of a blue warp speed cruiser please report to the front desk? We're gonna end this list with something that's actually a reference to another Will Smith classic, Hancock, because I love a movie reference that is to another movie. Agent J jumps off the Chrysler Building in the third. Hancock ended with Hancock, also played by Will Smith, doing the same thing. Boom! You made it to the end of the video, man. You should be so proud of yourself. Hopefully you learned something. Well, just, I need you to do me a favor and just, look right in it. Grab your finest suits, your darkest sunglasses, and your neuralizers. And be careful with these. Strap yourself into your Archelian battleship and go on a space ride through the tiny details that you can find in the Men in Black series. I'm Joey C. Let's go!